From the Cronkite studios in downtown Phoenix, this is Cronkite News.
A new outreach center for deported migrants in Nogales, Sonora opens its doors. We take you inside the facility and show you how it's giving hope to many.
Plus, the Supreme Court allows Trump's public charge rule, denying green cards to those who may need government aid. We'll take a closer look at how this is affecting families right here in Arizona. And tensions growing over a fence being constructed near the Salt River that one group says could keep the horses from accessing the water.
Cronkite News starts now.
Good evening and welcome to Cronkite News on Arizona PBS. I'm Tyler Mannion.
And I'm Danielle Malkin. Thank you for joining us.
Just weeks after the U.S. Department of Homeland Security began sending asylum seekers back to Mexico as part of what's known as the Remain in Mexico program, a new migrant outreach center has opened its doors.
It's assisting them as they wait for the U.S. immigration court dates. Cronkite News reporter Frankie McClister went to Mexico and shows us how it operates. Frankie?
The Keno Border Initiative, a Jesuit-run facility, has had a presence in Nogales, Sonora since 2009. But through different types of donations, the center is now a multi-million-dollar facility serving dozens of migrants on the other side of the border every day. With a warm mariachi welcome, the Keno Border Initiative's brand new 19,000 square foot Sonora-based migrant outreach center is now open for business.
Which is a very emotional moment. We've been spending many years trying to make this dream a reality.
9 years to be exact. That's how long it's taken the Nogales-based organization to find the space needed to accommodate migrants who either have been deported or waiting for their day in court. For volunteer Marianne Shoemaker, it's an emotional mission.
We have so much. And they have so little.
Little, but at least now some say that they have a bit more hope.
Trust and the confidence and the hope.
My husband and I come down from Montana every February, and we stay for a month. No one chooses to leave everything they love. To be an immigrant, that's not a choice.
This allows for folks to be better served, migrants to be better served, and we work very closely.
KBI's old site sits just across the street from the new center. It's 50 times smaller, but will still be used as a comedor, also known as a dining room. This location could only hold 80 to 90 people at a time, but after KBI raised $3 million, the new site now has a large dining room that can seat up to 160 individuals.
¿Cuántas personas servir?
Ahora servimos como unas 220 personas más o menos.
Well, the space that this building is bringing to the organization includes room on the second floor right there that can house 77 men, and is something that the organization hasn't been able to provide in the past.
It wouldn't have been possible without the support of everyone who's here and people who aren't here too, with their donation of time and resources and commitment.
Volunteer Angela Mikesel helped coordinate the quilts for each of the beds housing the men, women, and children migrants. After the project got some media attention, KBI received donated quilts from at least 10 states, with more on their way.
A whole part of the Keno Initiative philosophy is to make the migrants feel as much at home and cared for as possible. So our migrants will not have Mylar space blankets. They'll have handmade quilts on all their beds.
The opening of this new facility is happening just weeks after the U.S. Department of Homeland Security started deporting asylum seekers back to Mexico through Nogales.
As important as this building is, it's really a means to an end, which is to respond with dignity and love to our sister brother migrants, and to serve with dignity and love in this reality of migration here on the U.S.-Mexico border.
That new shelter can hold up to 140 individuals overnight, a service that will begin to be rolled out in the next few weeks. In the studio, Frankie McClister, Cronkite News.
The Trump administration has implemented some changes to the public charge rule and is now allowing immigration officers to deny green cards to immigrants over their use of benefits like food stamps or Medicaid. Last month, the U.S. Supreme Court allowed the changes to stand. They're set to take effect next Monday, and they're causing confusion and fear among immigrants across the country. Cronkite News reporter Luke Simmons explores the effect this rule is having on families in Phoenix.
At Southwest Elementary School in Phoenix, about a dozen parents are gathering to talk with the principal. Standing by is Cynthia Aragon, a counselor for Helping Families in Need. The Phoenix nonprofit assists families needing health care. In recent months, she has spent a few mornings each week talking to mostly Hispanic and Latino parents in the Roosevelt School District about their benefits. Since August, most of their concern has focused on changes to the public charge rule.
So because they're changing the definition and it's something new, people are unaware, people don't know, and people, for lack of a better word, freak out.
Understandably so. It's the gatekeeper of green cards, visas, and changes in residency status. Even Aragon's own family was confused by the new rule.
My dad disenrolled my siblings, his children, from kids care because of the fear of the unknown.
April Shaw is an attorney and research scholar at the Center for Public Health Law and Policy.
The kids are U.S. citizens, and so their use of any benefit shouldn't be subject to the analysis. Kids care is not a public benefit within the meaning of the rule.
Getting that message out to the thousands who remain confused is part of Aragon's mission. Until it reaches everyone, Arizona's immigrant community will endure while the rule is considered in federal court.
There has been pushback on these new guidelines. Some who oppose them are challenging them in court.
In just 2 days, President Trump will visit the Valley to hold a campaign rally in Phoenix. Tomorrow, Republican Senator Martha McSally will attend a Veterans for Trump event at the Scottsdale Plaza Resort. Doors open at 4 p.m. and that event is open to the public. You just have to register online. And tonight, we're learning more about the security plans for the president's Keep America Great rally. He'll be speaking at the Veterans Memorial Coliseum in Phoenix. The Arizona Department of Public Safety will be in charge of making sure everyone stays safe. DPS Director Colonel Frank Milstead told KTAR their job is to make sure everything is done peacefully. Milstead also said a free speech area will be set up away from the fairgrounds to allow protesters to, quote, convey their message without fear of retaliation or being hurt.
Time is running out to register to vote in the state's presidential preference election on March 17th. You just have until tomorrow at midnight. Only Democrats can cast ballots in the election, as the Arizona Republican Party decided not to participate this year. Registered voters that have no party affiliation or are registered independent or with another political party and want to vote in the presidential preference election must change their party affiliation to Democratic by February 18th.
If you've ever been to the lower Salt River, you may have been lucky enough to spot a unique herd of horses. Unique because they're protected by the state and managed through a public-private partnership.
But 2 years after this partnership began, disagreements over how best to manage the herd are simmering in the form of a fence. Cronkite News reporter Jennifer Alvarez explains the divide this fence is causing.
It's a first-of-its-kind partnership. The Arizona Department of Agriculture contracting a nonprofit to work with state government to manage horses on federal land. Now, tensions live between the groups over what the best way to manage the horses actually is.
Hi. Hi, Peanut. Hi, Peanut. This is Peanut.
And this is Peanut's forever home.
They're going to live happily ever after here at our sanctuary.
A sanctuary run by the Salt River Wild Horse Management Group, a volunteer-run organization charged with caring for the hundreds of horses that roam the 26,000 acres around the Salt River.
So all of these horses would have actually died had we left them out in the wild. So the only time we rescue them is if they're like so injured that they cannot survive.
Simone Netherlands is president of the group, which also runs a feeding program and administers birth control to curb the Salt River herd population. Now, Netherlands is worried the horses face a man-made threat, this nearly 4-mile barrier of metal along the lower Salt River.
It is a boundary fence between us and the Salt River Pima Maricopa Indian community.
Mike Martinez is with the Tonto National Forest. They started installing this fence in mid-January.
It is intended to prevent entry by unauthorized livestock onto the forest.
And like a lot of fences,
we don't think they need to be separated.
It brings controversy.
It's going to keep horses that they call reservation horses on this side, and it's going to keep Salt River wild horses on this side.
While the separation of horses worries Netherlands, she's most concerned the horses will lose access to the river.
Imagine if I'm a horse that lives on this side. As soon as this fence is finished, that horse will not be able to get to water. Now, what happens to a horse after a week of no water? He's dead.
But the Forest Service maintains those horses will still be able to reach over 8 miles of the river.
We anticipate that all the horses will be located on the side of the fence where they have access to water.
Barbed wire fences like this one help keep the horses from crossing onto the highway, which is something that both the Forest Service and the Salt River Wild Horse Management Group agree with. But even this fence has its problems, according to the management group, saying it cuts the horses off from half of their habitat. Although the Salt River horses are not federally protected, they are protected by the state. Representative Kelly Townsend spearheaded that effort, HB 2340 in 2016, saying, "We wanted to protect the horses and preserve their freedom, make them officially belonging to and protected by the state, and allow for them to remain." But Netherlands says that state law falls short today.
Unfortunately, that bill did not say that they couldn't be rounded up or they couldn't be reduced, and it also didn't protect all of their habitat.
Both groups agree they want to see these horses thrive.
Our intention is in the best interest of horses.
We would have just rather seen that they wouldn't have been separated like that.
Whether that's in the wild or in their backyard. A barrier will also be built across the river, something Netherlands says would be a public safety concern, but the Forest Service maintains they're planning to make sure the structure won't be a hazard for the community and would be something kayakers or tubers would be easily able to get through. In the studio, Jennifer Alvarez, Cronkite News.
Coming up on Cronkite News at 5, the latest on cruise ship passengers quarantined after a coronavirus outbreak.
This morning, hundreds of Americans landed back on U.S. soil, but the nightmare at sea isn't over quite yet. We'll explain why after the break.
And the high country reacting tonight to the minimum wage increase in Flagstaff. Don't go away.
Ready to watch the best of PBS anytime, anywhere, on nearly any device? It's easy with the free PBS Video app. Simply download the PBS Video app on your mobile or streaming device. Now you can watch the latest PBS episodes or catch up on the shows you missed, discover new favorites from PBS, and local content from your PBS station.
The weather around Phoenix is just beautiful today. Let's take a look at the weather around the valley.
Thank you for joining us for the special edition of Cronkite News. Here are the top stories that we're tracking today at noon.
Some of the best players for their program.
Hey, I'm Rick Steves. You know, I don't go anywhere without my passport. And now, thanks to PBS Passport, you can travel with me and watch all 10 seasons of Rick Steves Europe and all my travel specials. This exclusive streaming service is just for our members. Not only can you see all my shows, but you can see thousands of hours of your favorite public television shows. Become a member today and get your passport.
More than 300 Americans are back on U.S. soil right now. Here's a video of a plane landing at Lackland Air Force Base in San Antonio earlier this morning. It's the second of two chartered by the U.S. government to pick up Americans who'd been stuck on the Diamond Princess cruise ship after it was hit by the coronavirus. Earlier this month, the ship was quarantined in Japan with thousands of people on board, including a surgeon from Scottsdale and her husband. Health officials say more than 400 people on the ship came down with the coronavirus, and dozens of those are Americans. Those Americans were not allowed to fly home. They're still in Japan for treatment. But 14 of those who flew home have since tested positive for the virus, and the others aren't in the clear just yet either. They now face a mandatory 2-week quarantine, and if they test positive or show symptoms, they'll be transferred for further evaluation and treatment.
After several years of increases, the state's minimum wage is capped at $12 an hour as of January.
However, Flagstaff's minimum wage is still on the rise. Reporter Sydney Madison traveled up north to find out how businesses and presidents are responding.
4 years ago, Flagstaff's voters approved a minimum wage that is higher than the state's minimum wage. Some say that's still not enough money to live comfortably in this northern Arizona community.
I feel like minimum wage should at the very least be a livable wage.
In 2016, Arizona voters decided to gradually raise the minimum wage from $8.05 an hour to $12 by 2020. However, Flagstaff's ballot offered a different measure. Their total increase would be $3.50 above the rest of the state by 2022. Flagstaff's minimum wage is $1 higher than the rest of Arizona. Still, Flagstaff business owner Scott McPeak says $13 an hour is not a living wage.
If you come from western Nebraska, where I do, yes. If you live in Flagstaff, Arizona, where it's $300 a square foot for a house, no.
Flagstaff council member Jamie Whelan confirms the city has a high cost of living.
Living wage within Flagstaff, I think you'll probably hear from $26 to $28.
Whelan says small business owners like herself have had to cut back on some of their employees' hours.
It's challenged us at our heart level.
Tea shop employee ITZEL Guerrero says people need to remember how tough it is to stretch a dollar.
Most college students work minimum wage jobs and they have to pay for their own colleges, their own rent, their own groceries, all of their living expenses. If they have families, if they have a baby at that point, life happens regardless of how much money you make.
Small businesses will continue to adjust to the new wages, and some have even expressed that they would pay above minimum wage to keep quality employees. In the Broadcast Center, I'm Sydney Madison.
Up next, get ready to brag, Arizona. We'll be flirting with the 80s in just a few days. I'll have a full 8-day forecast just minutes away.
With wildfires, a scarcity of water, and other environmental issues facing the Earth today, it's critical to stay up to date with local impacts of a changing climate. That's why we created Elemental, covering sustainability, a multimedia collaboration between public television and radio stations. From climate change to water conservation to renewable energy and much more, Elemental covers the latest in sustainability news. Find our stories on our website, elementalreports.com.
You'll find there's never a dull moment in this house.
Welcome to Downton.
This house has no secrets.
Downton is catching up with the times we live in.
This calls for a toast.
It makes you want to jig about, though, doesn't it?
Heavens, we are quite a party.
Oh, goody, goody.
By the year 2050, there will be more plastic in the ocean than fish. Before Professor Halden, I had an insane amount of passion, but I almost felt helpless because I didn't know how to use it. Professor Halden gave me a chance to make a difference. Being at a place like ASU allows you to take these big leaps. Ultimately, the biggest problems in the world cannot be solved alone.
Over the weekend, a survivor of the USS Arizona passed away. Donald Stratton was 97 years old, and he joined the Navy in 1940 and was a seaman first class at the time of the first attack on Pearl Harbor. Stratton was with 5 other sailors in the burning forward mast when he was rescued. He suffered burns to over 70% of his body while escaping and was medically discharged in 1942. The flag over the USS Arizona Memorial will be flown at half-staff in honor of his life and service.
Talk about internet connection that's out of this world, literally. And Elon Musk is hoping figuratively too. His spacecraft company SpaceX has been launching internet satellites that are all connected, called Starlink. The 5th launch took place this morning in Florida. Take a look.
3, 2, 1, 0. Ignition. Liftoff.
With this launch, 300 satellites have been sent up so far, but the plan is to get thousands up in low Earth orbit. The goal of Starlink is to offer affordable internet service to parts of the U.S. and Canada by the middle of this year, and eventually beam cheap, high-speed broadband around the world, including rural areas that don't have internet access right now.
Arizona is known for its beautiful weather and those absolutely picturesque sunsets.
And with temperatures in the upper 70s this week, it's time to start bragging to the rest of the country.
So we need your help. We want to know, what's your favorite way to enjoy the desert sun?
Just go to our Cronkite News Facebook and Twitter feeds to let us know. And for some more information on weather, we're bringing in Millard Thomas. So Millard, this past weekend, I was at my pool sending pictures and videos to my parents back home on the East Coast, making them jealous. Please tell me I can do that again this week.
Yeah, we're going to have clear skies and sunshine the rest of the week because if we take a look at your Monday weather report, if we take a look right now at the temperatures across the state, you're going to see 75 out in Phoenix. If you're out west, it's going to be mid-70s along the Colorado River Valley. Then up north, you're going to see 52 in Flagstaff. Now, how about the rest of your Monday evening? You're going to see 73 when you get off work. And then if you're heading out for a little President's Day fun, you're going to see 67 around 8 o'clock, so leave those umbrellas at home. And as you head into a 10 o'clock hour, you're going to see 62 degrees. Now, if you're waking up in the valley tomorrow, the lows this time of year has an average of 49 degrees. We're going to be right around that, 51 in Phoenix, 46 out in Surprise, and then 45 out in Tempe. And then how about your highs for the rest of the state? 77 in Phoenix, mid-70s out west. Then if you're attending NAU, you're going to see a high of 52 out in Flagstaff. Then let's see your next 3 days. You got 77 on Tuesday. We'll be flirting with the 80s on Wednesday, 82 on Thursday. Then how about your guys' weekend? We're going to see some cloud coverage on Friday, 79, before temperatures dip all the way to 71 on Saturday. Then with the new week, we'll be back to 73 on Monday before dropping all the way to 64 on Tuesday. Millard Thomas from the Cronkite News Weather Center.
A new southern white rhino is calling the Phoenix Zoo home. Howie celebrated his 23rd birthday in the valley on Thursday, according to the zoo's Facebook page.
They posted that as he adjusts to his new habitat, he may come outside or go in his night house as he pleases. Howie made the long journey to the desert from the Brevard Zoo in Florida. Kobe Bryant, basketball, and shoes. His legacy both on and off the court.
Coming up, how the superstar is still making major impacts even after his death.
The weather around Phoenix is just beautiful today. Let's take a look at the weather around the valley.
Thank you for joining us for the special edition of Cronkite News. Here are the top stories that we're tracking today at noon.
Some of the best players for their program.
Cronkite Noticias is the Spanish-speaking division of Cronkite News, covering topics such as economics, education, sustainability, immigration, and border relations. Cronkite Noticias strives to serve the Spanish-speaking community in Arizona. Under the guidance of prominent Spanish-speaking professionals, students at the Walter Cronkite School of Journalism develop content for our broadcast partner, Univision, as well as on Facebook and Twitter. Explore Cronkite Noticias at cronkitenoticias.azpbs.org.
On January 26th, Kobe Bryant and his 13-year-old daughter, Gianna Bryant, passed away in a helicopter crash.
The five-time NBA champ's legacy on the court is undeniable. Nick Torella is in our Los Angeles bureau to tell us more about Kobe's impact on the basketball shoe industry.
All around the world, Kobe shoes have gained traction and took steps into a new direction. In the U.S. alone, the athletic footwear industry is set to be worth $20 billion. Before Bryant went into shoe business, basketball shoes were typically big, clunky, and high tops like Air Jordans. Not much has changed that formula until 2008 when Nike released the Kobe 4s, an unorthodox low-top sneaker.
It was a really bold move from Nike and from Kobe at that point in time to go low tops. And a lot of people were scared at first, but As you can see, it started a whole revolution. It went from a taboo thing to a revolution, and now a lot of players have low tops.
Players like James Harden, Kevin Durant, and Kyrie Irving have all introduced their own low-top sneakers. The idea for a low top came to Kobe by his other favorite sport to play growing up, soccer.
Not only do they wear low tops and they cut harder than basketball players, but they have cleats so that they stick to the ground, so their ankles are so strong.
Sean O'Shea has been designing shoes for 25 years and learned a lot about Kobe when designing his line of sneakers in early 2010.
Kobe's the driving force behind innovation. He wants pure innovation. He wanted his sneaker to be, which designers love, because that's, what you don't want to do is do something kind of basic. If you have like a conservative guy you're designing for, you want someone to push it. So he wants innovation every season, which is a dream come true.
Days after Bryant's death, Nike's entire stock of Kobe merch was sold out from fans and collectors.
I can never question somebody's intent on why. Obviously, some people might want it for their own personal reasons. Some people might want it for other reasons, but for sure, there's definitely a bigger penchant for people who want to get Kobe shoes now that he's passed on.
I think it'll be aftermarket will be, you can't control that. That's going to be crazy.
Kobe's shoes can be described in one word.
It's timeless. Yeah, that's the best way I could describe it, just words. Just words, man.
Shoe stores in Phoenix like House of Hoops and Undefeated Phoenix are currently sold out of the Kobe shoes, so you better try your luck out on eBay. In Los Angeles, Nick Torella, Cronkite News.
That's it for Cronkite News tonight. Thank you for joining us.
For top Arizona stories anytime, go to cronkitenews.azpbs.org.
Have a great night.